Good evening, Albuquerque, and welcome to the first ever edition of the Flyguys Flyby here on FU 96.2 Sports Network. I am your host, Freddie the Fly Guy Newsome, and I can't tell you how excited I am for tonight's show. Tonight we will be answering some caller questions and having a one-on-one interview with head coach of the Flyguys, Richard Angulo. The Flyguys will be having their game this weekend against the New Mexico on the road. Let's go to the phones and see what people are saying about the team. Our first caller is Lee June from Washington. Lee, you're on the air. What's your question, man?
Your wide receiver room is pretty stacked. How are you going to manage who gets playing time and who doesn't?
Lee, that's a good question. I'm not the coach, so I personally don't really know. But if I had to guess, I'm sure Richard's going to kind of mix it up with formations and make sure that he gets an even amount of playing time for all his receivers. But good question. Maybe I can ask him that later in our interview. Our next caller is Jack from Seattle. Jack, you're on the air.
So considering that many of your football players are illegal immigrants, what are you going to do when Trump decides to deport your entire team?
All right. Bill, can you please get him off? We don't need that kind of stuff on here. Brian, what's up, Brian? You're on the air, dude.
Hey, this is Brian. And I'm calling because I'm a fan of New Mexico, and I'm just saying, do you think there's a chance that they have to win?
Buddy, if you want to get my opinion on New Mexico, you've come to the wrong place. This radio show is for the Fly Guys, but if you really want my opinion, I'd say that expect a butt whooping. All right, Zach, you're on the air, man. What's up?
Question that I do have is regarding the coach, and from what I hear, the coach is not necessarily like the most, how do you call it, prestigious, just that I don't know how a coach like him would be able to lead a team like that to success. I'm just looking for how you feel about the coach.
It's a good question. I think Richard has the potential to lead this team to success. Obviously, it's going to only take time, really. I mean, you can't really judge somebody this early. Obviously, it being a completely new team entirely, I think that he's going to have somewhat of a long leash, simply because, obviously, everyone's kind of in the feeling out process right now. So I would expect him, I think he can lead them to success, but right now, how high of success is really to be determined. And I think that's going to wrap it up for our caller questions now. All right, next up on the phone lines, we have Fly Guys head coach Richard Angulo, and he is ready to talk to us. So, Rich, what's up, man?
All right.
Coach, I know you're probably busy around this time of year, of course, still trying to wrap up that late off-season recruiting and getting the team ready for their opener at New Mexico. I gotta ask, first question, what do you make of your roster right now? What are some things you feel confident in, and what are some areas that you feel are going to need work?
My roster it's not the best right now. It's probably the worst. We're by far the worst team. Yeah, okay. Confident in our kicker and our punter. Kicker won't be seeing the field a lot, that's for sure. Punter will be seeing the field a lot of the time, no doubt about it. Also, strong safety, like him, he's pretty good. Everything though, other than strong safety, because kicker and punter are both seniors and they're gone next year, so I gotta recruit everything this year.
All right, fair enough. I guess that's one way to respond when you got an entirely new team. Next question, what do you think are realistic expectations for this team heading into the season, given just kind of the way the schedule looks and how the roster shapes up?
Anything between 0 and 1 win. Other than that, I would be surprised.
Interesting. Lots of confidence. Last question. What does it mean for you to be the first coach of the Franquicia University Fly Guys?
First coach, Means I gotta build this team for the future. Can't win right now with this roster. Just gotta build for the future and hope we can win with that talent. And that's pretty much it. Just gotta build the team.
All right, that's one way to put it. Obviously, he's focused on football. That's going to do it for a one-on-one interview with Fly Guys head coach Richard Angulo. Again, Coach, thanks for coming on. I know, again, you're probably really busy right now, but I'd like to thank you for spending time with us here on the Fly Guys Flyby.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
All right, let's go back to some more caller questions here. Next up, we're going to have Dave is on the phone lines here on the Fly Guys Flyby. Dave, what's up, my dude?
I'm from my hometown of Albuquerque, so I'm looking forward to this new college team here. I'm just looking on what your take is for the quarterback situation of the Fly Guys.
I definitely think the quarterback situation is an interesting one. You know, I do know that Miguel Sanchez is the captain of the offense, or one of the captains of the team, and he's obviously going to be the starter. But I definitely think that Nash Sidney is close behind, and it's going to be interesting to see during the season how Miguel's play develops, because apparently, from what I've heard, a lot of fans seem to be liking what Nash's game brings to the table, and I know that it's definitely been a close competition all spring, but right now Miguel is the starter. Next up, we're going to have Alan. You're on the Fly Guys Flyby, my dude. What's up?
Hey you there, this is Alan, and I'm just calling because I was hearing some different reports about the off-season for the Fly Guys and how it was going, so I didn't know if you had some inside information on that, or if you had any like little prelude to how the team was going to be this season. I'm just looking forward to hear your take on that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not like an insider type guy. I don't really have any inside team information, but I do know, I feel confident in the team, you know? I mean, obviously, me being a big supporter of the Fly Guys, I'm going to have confidence, but I think this team has a chance to get 4 or 5 wins in year one, and that's just simply because whether or not they had the talent to do so, I know they have the heart to do so, and I know that Coach Richard Angulo, knowing his personality and him being a former NFL player, I definitely think he's going to light a spark under this team and hopefully lead them to some victories. Next up, we're going to have Quan Williams from Albuquerque. What's up, hometown dude?
Hey, what's going on, man? So I had a question about the quarterback situation. So Miguel Sanchez is obviously going to be the day one starter, but what are the chances that Nash Sidney or DeAndre Washington take the starting job from him at a certain point? I feel like Sidney and Washington are both a lot more athletic than Sanchez, so I feel like that would serve the offense more than just like your standard pocket quarterback sitting there, especially with a newer team like this, a less talented team like this. And we're going to be taking on like a lot of tough opponents. Maybe they don't have the arm or the accuracy that Sanchez has, but yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts on like possibly going to a different quarterback.
To answer your last question, I definitely think there's a good chance we're going to see multiple quarterbacks in game this year. And that's simply because, like I said earlier, really we're still in a feeling out process for what this team truly is going to bring to the table. You can say all you want about how they've practiced, but until we get into a game, it's really going to be hard to see how this team really plays against some real-life action. So I think, like I said, Miguel's the starter. Head coach Richard Angulo has put his word on that, so obviously he sees something in Miguel that leads to him to think that he's the better quarterback right now. But don't be surprised at all if Nash Sidney gets on the field even before Week 6. Just whether or not it results in wins or losses, I think he wants to see multiple things out of all his quarterbacks just to kind of gauge, who really is the guy. As far as like a player type thing, obviously we know Miguel is not as mobile as Nash, but I think it's, again, just going to be kind of more of a system fit, and we really don't know how that system's going to run until we see them in game. So to answer your question, yes, we will see multiple quarterbacks likely, and I don't really know how it's going to play out. Next up, we're going to have...
Hey, This is Billy.
Okay, Billy, what's up, man?
Hey, I've heard a lot of talk about the quarterbacks and wide receivers on the show today. But you know what? For your last question, I wanted to bring a little bit different thing to the table. What about the defense? I haven't heard any talk of this defense. Who do you think will be actual key players on this defense to watch out for? Because right now, I don't see anybody.
Oh, it's a good question. I mean, I definitely think that it's going to be kind of just a mesh unit right now. I don't think really anybody stands out, as you mentioned. Right now, there's so many position players out there on defense. You know, linebacker deep right now. The defensive line has a lot of guys competing for spots. I think it's just going to be a matter of who can really win the job in game. Obviously, this team's only had a few months of practice, period. So it's going to be kind of hard to gauge whether anyone's standing out truly right now. Because, as you mentioned, we haven't really heard of any standout players on defense yet. So I think as the season progresses, you'll see guys starting to kind of lift their game a little bit and kind of stand out amongst the rest. So to answer your question, I don't really know who is a standout player right now. But at the same time, we really haven't had much time to really see who is with the capability of being a standout player. So, yeah, that's about it for that.
I have another question, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
So, yeah, the defense, like you say, looks like a little bit of a mesh unit. I'm hearing great things coming out of practice from the kick return unit, with them using Cornelius Jenkins, the fastest player on the team, as their kick return, punt return specialist. What are your expectations for him going into the season?
I think Cornelius has a chance to be the best defensive player, if not the best player on the team. Obviously, I mentioned it's kind of a mesh unit on defense, but I failed to mention the secondary, and I really think that's where Cornelius is going to be an elite player. You mentioned he's a good kick returner. He's definitely going to make an impact on special teams, I think. It's just his athleticism and his speed is really something that's unmatched against a lot of offenses. So I think he's definitely going to make a heavy impact and could be the MVP of the team by the end of the season. All right, that's going to wrap it up for our caller questions here. Again, thanks for tuning in here on the Flyguys Flyby. I have been your host, Freddie the Fly Guy Newsome, here on FU 96.2 Sports Network, and we will see you next week after New Mexico.